Modders have done it again. Even years after release, they're still upgrading Fallout 4, and just recently, we got one mod that is going to completely overhaul enemy AI in Fallout 4. This is going to make enemy encounters feel smarter, much more dynamic, and really just across the entire game, your combat encounters are going to be more fun and interesting. Although even beyond just that, we've been seeing AI used in Fallout 4 modding in a variety of ways. We're getting entire character overhauls that are adding much more depth and really fleshing out characters in Fallout 4 a lot more, and even AI being used to enhance your FPS in Fallout 4 with some incredible new tools that give you the mystical power of getting 60 or more FPS in downtown Boston. And this tool is actually a pretty big deal, as it already may have some implications for Starfield of all things. But first, let's go to Greece with today's video sponsor, Rise of Kingdoms. Rise of Kingdoms will take you through the ages. This is a strategic game for both PC and mobile that will throw you into a huge open world environment. There are 14 different civilizations to choose from and give you the ability to handcraft your perfect city and become a true powerhouse. In this, you'll control famous generals and even lead unique armies to explore and conquer new lands. All the while, you need to be building up your own civilization as a world power. This game is massive, not only in its world space, but they also have more than 60 million players and 100 million downloads worldwide. And you're going to see those players, as Rise of Kingdoms features real-time battles that anyone can join or leave at any given time, so you have to face things like surprise attacks or even just sprint to the defense of your allies. But it all begins at home. In Rise of Kingdoms, you'll have full control over the layout of your city to get prepared for some of those attacks. But don't fret, you're not going to have to go into this alone, as your alliance members can battle side by side with you. This leads to some truly awesome conflicts or even an epic final stand. And now you can even command an all-new faction, as Rise of Kingdoms just added Greece as a playable civilization. So you'll gain access to special commanders and units like the Argoraspides. And right now is the perfect time to jump in. The Civilization Clash event is about to begin. You have to fight for your civilization to succeed, but you could also win some epic prizes like a new Apple Vision Pro. So don't wait and download Rise of Kingdoms now by clicking the first link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen. And it gets even better, use code GREACE4ROK to get 20 silver keys and jump into the multi-civilization event using that second link down below at ROK.games. But the first mod we have to take a look at is this mod revolutionizing combat in Fallout 4 with REAL.AI. As you can imagine, this is going to be an overhaul of the AI of enemy NPCs in Fallout 4. And at its core, what this mod will do is enhance enemies really across the board. In vanilla Fallout 4, NPCs operate in a mini bubble. They had invisible barriers around them that really limited their senses. This was seemingly done by Bethesda to keep NPCs a bit easier and even simplify them to make the load smaller for consoles. And in effect, this mod is going to remove those barriers and the bubble around NPCs, as well as tweak their behavior a bit to make them far more interesting and dynamic. One of the major components of this mod is NPCs are going to operate with a much larger scale. You'll find NPCs walking around near their settlement, not just locked into the interior of it. As you're adventuring around the Commonwealth now, you'll notice enemies notice you from much further away and they'll start attacking you. It almost feels like their senses are more human. They actually have eyes and ears and can see you if you're walking directly in front of them. But this mod will take things even further beyond that, and in particular, if you use the add-on mod, REAL.AI Untethered, NPCs will also interact with their environment more. You'll find them almost doing little patrols around their settlements and even using some of the nearby cover a lot more often. Snipers that are posted up will now actually snipe you from afar instead of trying to run closer to you, or even at worst, taking out a melee weapon and just sprinting at you, despite the fact that they have a sniper, as well as NPCs will be using elevation far more often. You'll find enemies either above you or below you a lot more frequently than you would in vanilla Fallout 4. And in real terms, it makes these interactions with enemy settlements far more interesting and honestly a bit more stressful. It feels like enemies are actually exercising a zone of control around their territory. As you approach things, they'll actually notice and fire on you now. And if you don't get out of there quickly, NPCs will hunt you down much further away. In vanilla Fallout 4, it almost feels like you have to walk directly into their setup for them to actually care, but now if you get close enough, they will definitely notice. But if you actually engage and get into some extended periods of combat, this mod will really start to shine. Enemy encounters are far more unpredictable now, as the choices NPCs can make during combat are vastly opened up with this mod. One of the biggest things I would notice is with movement. In Fallout 4 by default, when an enemy is attacking you, they'll stay pretty static as long as you do. So if you're standing still just firing at enemies, for the most part, they're going to stand behind cover and just fire back at you. You're not going to be moving around all that much. But with Real.AI, that is no longer the case. I would constantly get into a firefight with NPCs, we're both standing behind cover, and then as I turn around the corner to finish them, I notice, oh wow, they're gone. They already repositioned or even flanking me now. And enemies will flank you in meaningful ways with this one. So many times while using this mod, I had enemies pop up around corners I've never seen them use before. Or even at other points, enemies will chase you down. This can honestly be pretty terrifying, but if you try and get away from enemies, they'll sometimes just follow you and maintain pressure on you. There were times where I had my health drop down, I try and use a staircase to put some distance between me and an enemy, and all of a sudden a few seconds later I realized they followed me up the stairs and were still trying to take me out. This mod almost feels like it has a jump scare component for veteran Fallout fans because you're just not used to NPCs following you and acting in this way. It almost felt like they smelled blood in the water and were actively trying to finish me off. But at the same time, I also encountered the exact opposite. I would land a few hits on an enemy and they would actually fall back and reposition with better cover, almost running away from me while they were injured. And it doesn't all stop there. Enemies will now do things like blind fire on your position, almost laying down suppressive fire due to wherever you are. And with this mod, you're definitely going to notice way more shots and grenades coming your way. Enemies are really going to pressure you from multiple angles, especially if you're trying to hide behind cover. So obviously all of this thus far has really been an upgrade, enhancements for enemies, making them more difficult. But the mod author took that into account and has balanced things as well. Due to enemies having their senses unlocked, those senses have also been tuned down a bit. So if you do crouch down somewhere and hide, enemies will be able to lose detection on you. And I would honestly say the biggest aspect of this mod overall is how much more variability there is with enemy encounters, and it honestly feels amazing. This mod, along with something like survival mode, is a perfect combo to reinstall Fallout 4 with, as it just makes the individual encounters feel so much more fresh. Running into a group of enemies feels entirely different with this mod installed, and I found myself actually having to walk through buildings slowly. I would have to check and clear corners now, because enemies will sometimes hide there now. This is definitely some of the most fun I've had in Fallout 4 in years. Quests are going to take a bit longer to finish, and fights are just far more intense. I think if you couple this mod with some kind of damage overhaul like MAME to enhance combat even further, you could have a completely novel and unique Fallout 4 experience with just a couple of mods. But that isn't the only way AI overhauls are coming to Fallout 4, as a very different mod that is also super interesting is Tina DeLuca voiced as a settler. This mod will greatly expand on the voice lines available for Tina DeLuca and expand her functionality in the game overall. Tina is someone you're going to meet in Vault 81, you're going to save her brother from being a chem addict, and this quest is fairly simple. Vanilla Fallout 4, depending on the outcome, you'll have an option to recruit Tina as a settler at the end. So right off the bat, one of the changes this mod brings is you'll now always have the option to recruit Tina as a settler, even if the quest is over. But once she is in your settlement, that's where things get really cool. This mod's going to use the 11 Labs voice AI tool to generate a ton of new dialogue lines for Tina.
It's surprising, but I must admit I'm rather proud of my brother. Bobby learned a lot now that he's cleaned up. I hear even old Rusty can take some well-deserved time off now and then. I wanted to personally thank you for giving me this opportunity.
You're welcome.
That bastard Holt, I'm glad that's over with. Not that I don't miss him, but his family needs him more.
So as you could hear, a lot of this is going to be themed around Vault 81 and the quest you had together. And I think the voice sounds pretty good. You could definitely tell it's not quite perfect, but good enough, and it gives the character a lot more depth, and it really feels like you have somebody who is genuinely thankful for us saving their brother, and we can reminisce about the past we've had together. And this mod will also repurpose Tina as a level 4 general merchant as opposed to a chem dealer, which honestly made no sense in vanilla Fallout 4 given what her past was. Overall, it's a fairly basic example, but I think it's a really cool one as to how voice AI tech can really do great things for Fallout 4 in the long run. Here we see it fleshing out an otherwise underutilized character and just giving ourselves more interactions and more depth with that individual character. But even that still isn't all of the ways AI is overhauling Fallout 4, as we also just recently had an alpha release of frame generation in Fallout 4. Pure Dark has been doing incredible work for both Fallout 4 and Skyrim, mainly by adding the DLSS Upscaler into both of these games. This basically just adding NVIDIA's DLSS technology into Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and in turn giving you huge FPS boosts. And one of the most extreme examples of this is the alpha release of DLSS 3.0 or frame generation that just dropped a few weeks ago. You can see here, Pure Dark is nearly doubling his FPS in Fallout 4 with literally just the flipping of a switch. So with this, you're able to easily run Fallout 4 at over 100 FPS, even in some more of the taxing areas. DLSS 3.0 is incredibly powerful. Unfortunately, right now, it is exclusive to 4000 series NVIDIA GPUs, but at the same time, this is a huge opportunity for those with heavily modded setups folks that want more FPS. But also, those of you that are excited for Starfield and do have an NVIDIA GPU, you should be paying attention to some of this progress and work. Starfield has a partnership with AMD, and in a lot of past game examples, this means the game probably won't ship with DLSS support. This isn't explicitly confirmed, but a lot of the times this is what happens. But Pure Dark has already come out and said that they will get DLSS 3.0 support added during the 5-day early access window for Starfield, and even after that start working on DLSS 2 support for everyone else with a non-4000 series NVIDIA GPU. So here we have yet another example of modders stepping up in a huge way. Right now, improving your performance for both Fallout 4 and Skyrim, but in the future, even helping Starfield as a new title. Although one important clarification, the regular upscalers are available right now on Nexus, but some of the alpha and beta versions, like the one featuring frame generation, are currently only on Patreon until they get a full release. Although one other mod that's a pretty big game changer in fixing one of the big problems with Fallout 4 is fast travel background load AI detection fix. Yeah, that's a mouthful. In Fallout 4, there's this quirk where when you load in or just fast travel somewhere, you'll have this fade from black, and during this your controls are locked until the fade ends. But for some absolutely bizarre reason, enemies aren't locked during the fade. So as you load in, enemies are able to start moving immediately, but you have a several second delay as you have the fade to black that you have to wait on. And as you can imagine, what this mod will do is change that. Now, enemies are also going to be locked until the fade from black finishes, so they can no longer get those free pot shots on you. It's a relatively small mod, but also an incredibly important one and a super impactful mod that will genuinely save me a few headaches across a playthrough. In particular, if you play in survival mode, you'll know this is a game changer. And if you are curious as to what that gorgeous shotgun mod I was using throughout this video, it's going to be the Remington Model 870 shotgun, which is a truly exceptional one. It just has incredible sounds, animations, as well as some really top tier texture work. In addition, of course, has a variety of weapon mods for it. There's some vanity attachments, but also things like scopes and different ammo types. And really the reason I love this shotgun is it's just incredibly satisfying to use in combat. It features bullet counted reloads, so you only have to reload as many shells as are missing. And although looks probably shouldn't count for this much with a weapon mod, it really does here. It's a really pretty weapon, which in some weird way made it even more satisfying to use in Fallout 4. But thanks again to Rise of Kingdoms for sponsoring this video. It truly is an incredibly fun strategy game that you can play on both PC and mobile right now. The Greece faction has some epic visuals tied to it, so download Rise of Kingdoms right now by clicking the first link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen. But with that, we have several mods for Fallout 4 that you could download right now to truly upgrade your game and maybe even start a new playthrough with. But maybe you're also interested in what's next. So check out this video and some of the absolutely insane DLC-sized mods coming to Fallout 4 in the next couple of months to years.